And the big story, of course, over the weekend revolved again around Toby Greene. What's the latest with tomorrow's hearing?
Yeah, this hearing is a breakfast tribunal tomorrow, Jared, 9 a.m. So it was going to be tomorrow night, but they're on a flight, the GWS Giants. It couldn't be Wednesday night because that's too late in the week, and it couldn't be tonight because they needed time to prepare. So I know that it's going to be they know it's going to be a financial sanction if a tribunal bases their verdicts on the optics. So if the AFL pushes for 4 to 6 weeks or even more, expect the Giants to play hardball and get into the nitty-gritty of the words in the guidelines. For example, you can expect the word disrespectful to be hotly debated by the GWS Giants. If Matt Stevic feels as if he wasn't disrespected, GWS will argue, who is it for the AFL to say it was disrespectful? Now, this is sort of semantics in this case, I think, if the AFL argues for a heavy penalty. But the Giants, as I said before, I think they'll accept 1 to 2 weeks. I think if the AFL pushes for 4, 5, 6, 7, that's when I think they'll play hardball. Gary, you watched this on Saturday. You're sitting in quarantine. I'm sure you've seen it many other times over the last few days. How many weeks does he deserve?
It's 2 to 4, and if it's above that for me, then that's okay too. I was interested with the whole dialogue around this, to be perfectly honest. And, you know, we talk about disrespectful or not. Sometimes your first reaction's your best reaction. Toby's obviously fired up and disappointed with what happened just prior to that. He's got a whole football field to use to try and get to his huddle. He sees the umpire that's involved and doesn't deviate and makes contact. Now, whether it's slide or not, that's disrespectful in anyone's language, Tom, from mine. And I was interested in the whole dialogue, you know, the want to try and find the excuse to get Toby off rather than just deal with the facts. And the facts of the matter are, there it was. He had the opportunity. He initiated the contact. He had alternatives all over the place. And the most disappointing thing about all of this, this has been lost in all of this, the GWS Giants have been absolutely magnificent and put themselves in position again to contend. And the reality is, as of lunchtime tomorrow, they're going to be without the bloke that fire-lit the joint, you know, who just lit the whole stadium up in that first quarter on the weekend. And he's put himself in a position where he's not going to be there again on the weekend. On this upcoming weekend, and it's a travesty for that footy club.
Indeed it is. Nick, you first saw it. Have you changed your mind on your initial approach?
Yeah, I have. And when the facts change or the evidence changes in terms of the camera angles that were provided, then my opinion changes. So on this angle, Gary, you said initiate the contact. The contact is the key word there. I don't think you could definitively say that the shoulder was the contact we're talking about. If it was a little brush of the arm, I think that's different. But
what was he doing there? What was he doing there?
But if he doesn't make contact...
Well, he only doesn't make contact because Matt
that's right. But I don't think you could be definitive from the first angle. From that angle, you can go. So that's what I'm saying. Having seen that angle, absolutely, he's in trouble. He has to be suspended for that action. I feel for Matt Stevic in this situation. I mean, I thought he handled the moment as well as you possibly could, and I'm not sure whether there's been any vitriol towards Matt Stevic at all or not, but he handled the situation as well as you could possibly do it. To back over Toby, so the last time they were in a final series, 2019, where they played in the grand final, he was fined $7,500 for serious misconduct against the Bulldogs. Then he was suspended for the gouge on Lachie Neale and missed the prelim. So this is third time in a final at the key moment when someone like Toby Greene, who we've lauded his leadership this year, needs to be there for his team. And the third time out of 4 games that they've played at the pointy end of the year, he's put himself in a position where he's going to miss.
There it is post-game. So, Toby explaining to Big Mummy, who's indulging in a piece of macaroni pizza or one with a lot.
Thought I would have had a couple of sausages.
It does look as if he's refuelling, but ultimately, I think the level of whether or not he touches him or not is irrelevant. He walked through him. Matt Stevic had to turn to get out of the way, and I think this time I don't think the Giants should be fighting this. I think the Giants should be leading and saying that this was unacceptable and potentially going in and pleading guilty and looking for a lesser sentence.
And when we talk about Toby and, you know, it doesn't need to be said. There's all these riders on it. Oh, I love Toby. He's my favourite player. I want him to play this weekend. Well, no, you don't. Not if he makes contact with an umpire. You don't want him to play, because that's just contrary to everything that we've been taught since we first pulled on a footy boot. And he puts himself right now with the possibility we all thought he was going to be the captain perhaps next year. Then the possibility he foregoes that responsibility for the very reasons that Nick Riewoldt just spoke about.
And it might cost him
in contention, and he puts himself in the chance not to play.
Yeah. And it might cost him the captaincy as well. And for all those people screaming, jumping up and down, talking about the Toby tax, Toby tax, I mean, that doesn't apply here. Toby's put himself in this situation. This put it in isolation. Any player would be facing the same level of scrutiny.
So let's move on and have a look at the game, because Toby will be the story again tomorrow. But one of the stories, obviously, was the Giants, after a 0-3 start, they got themselves through. Leon's done a great job.